And I think having an understanding of real estate in general beforehand really helped me do that, right? And my main function, and I tell this to everybody, is
for everyone that's listening to this, that you understand if you're gonna go the route, you don't need to go and build a team necessarily.
show value to that. If you think you're going to get a good assistant at $15 an hour, you're not. Nobody can live off of that. They're going to have a second job.
That's right. I was enjoying the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody because
Just say one thing about that because I am scared.
All right, everybody, we have another edition of the Phone Warriors podcast. This is going to be an exciting one because today we have our D. Clark Group's very own Tedi Dominguez in the house to share her life story and where she's come from to be this amazing partner in the business that we have today. So, Tedi, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Tedi, let's just tell the world and all these agents watching today who you are and how long you've been in the business for.
Tedi is my name. I've had my license for about 12 years, and I sold part-time for about 3 years in the beginning of my career. And then I just decided I just needed something a little bit more steady paycheck wise personally. So I always kept my license active, but I just moved out of selling. And then met Dean about 2 years after that, I think, about 2 years after that, and then decided to join the team as the transactions coordinator. And now it's just grown, the role has grown so much more since then.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, we obviously love having you obviously here because, without you, there's no backbone to what we do. We need someone to implement all these crazy ideas that I have for everybody and what we do here. So, and then, so Tedi, so tell, like, in terms of what you do every single day, I would love to know because there's not many assistants that are being, or even listing coordinators or transaction everything that you do in the team. There's not many that are being interviewed to talk about what they do on a daily basis. And I'm curious to know, what did you start with when you started working with me, and how did you grow? Like, what was that growth looking like for you?
As far as start with, like, as far as the skill set goes,
Just everything. Like, you started with me. I think we just talked about it was like you were going to be an ISA, and then it ended up
that's
turning
true.
into. So, like, talk about like that because I feel like there's a lot of not so much clarity around, that you can be molded and really adapt into new things, assuming that that person is malleable to that extent that you are, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. So I kind of came in uh, greenish, right? Like I had a basic knowledge of the business. I had closed, I believe about 16, 17 transactions on my own. So I knew the ins and outs of the business and I knew paperwork and I knew the basics. But as we grew as a team, so did my skill set. And that is in large credit to you, Dean, because you were very not only instrumental, but also very thoughtful in the way that you kind of helped me build that skill set, which made me feel very safe, even in making mistakes or making bad judgments. I never felt in trouble if that happened, which is huge, I think. And this is like a message to other team leaders or other agents who have assistants. Be kind and try to come from a place of truly understanding why they did what they did rather than coming down on them for making a mistake. So I would definitely credit you a lot for my growth.
Well, that's great. And, one question that I heard that I would like to ask, actually, when you said something, is for yourself, you have a strong team lead who, shaped and molded you and guided you. But at the end of the day, it was you with the implementation of putting everything that, a mindset, I'm not a mindset, like a vision, and then it says a vision, and then like some private chatter on a piece of paper, and then you make it all that come to life. So, anybody who's an admin out there or wants to become an admin or is a struggling agent, wants to turn over to learn their roles, what would you say that, did you have the confidence to say, hey, listen, Dean, I don't agree with this, or did you just agree to everything that Dean said? So like, how do you take all this mumbo jumbo that's up here and actually start fine tuning it for him?
That's a great question. So I don't think I've ever been shy with Dean as far as telling him my opinion or if I think something's wrong. But that also is very much born of his attitude towards me. Like I was never really treated as an assistant. I was always treated more as a partner to the team. So it changed the way I was able to communicate. Um, Also, kind of always joke that I only have one speed, and that's go. So if Dean were to give me a task, I'm off and running with it immediately, and I'm trying to make it the best possible version of it to suit his needs. And I think having an understanding of real estate in general beforehand really helped me do that. But I don't think that it not having that experience would stop someone else from being able to do the same thing. I think it's a combination of being confident in yourself, right? And also having a bit of intuition, of being able to plan ahead or think ahead for what this thing that your team lead is asking you for is needed for in the future or how it may need to evolve in the future. So just really being able to try to source answers on your own and being what do they call that? An independent worker, right? Somebody who can find answers on their own. They don't need to go to their team lead all the time and say, hey, can you help me with this, that, or the third? When I go to Dean for something for help, it's because I have exhausted every possible source of information for that thing. Like if I really can't find it, then I'm asking.
Mhm.
Don't I definitely not recommend just asking first before you try to find it on your own because agents are busy, right? And my main function, and I tell this to everybody, is I'm trying to focus on my work to make sure that all the agents can focus on procuring new business. That is where they are most useful. So to bog them down with unnecessary questions about something that you can find on your own really doesn't make sense for the growth of the team as a whole.
What would you say then to let's say there's an agent out there listening to this that is in that messy middle part where
Mhm.
they're an individual agent doing everything on their own and they're doing good business, maybe let's say 15 to 20 transactions a year, maybe around 100 buck 50 a year in GCI, depending on where you
Mhm.
are in the country, obviously. And they
Mhm.
know that they need to hire someone like you or find someone like you to
Mhm.
the best of their ability to get to the next level, let's say of 300 to 500,000 GCI.
Mhm.
What steps should they take, in your opinion, knowing what you know now, that they should be doing in order to make sure that they are a leader, they are the visionary, they are the person that who do they have to become in order for you to do your job at the highest level?
Got it. So, I mean, it's a good question too. So first step is just take the step. I feel like a lot of agents or people in general suffer with analysis paralysis. Like they're just bogged down in the minutia of everything, and so it stops them from doing things, myself included, right? So stop over analyzing things and just pull the trigger. And as far as who you need to become, just watch podcasts, right? Listen to other leaders and how they lead a team and how they make their staff feel safe. And I know that's like a woke buzzword or whatever, like making people feel safe, but it's really not that difficult to do. Make your staff feel like they can come to you with problems without getting yelled at or being made to feel like they're an idiot, right? Like that is first and foremost. And as long as you foster that kind of environment where people feel safe coming to you, there is literally no hurdle that cannot be overcome because it'll always be an open dialogue. And that's what you want.
That's right. So I'm hearing feedback. I'm hearing like making sure that they're open to suggestion and that if they do mess up. And one thing I can share with you that I've experienced on my end that a lot of times we don't really talk about because we don't really talk about it anymore is
Mhm.
that there's going to be times that you're going to mess up. And you as
100%.
a
Yeah.
team leader, I think it's very important for everyone that's listening to this that you understand if you're going to go the route, you don't need to go and build a team necessarily,
Mhm.
but having someone like you who's a rock star assistant or transaction manager and everyone that's like you're like the support, you are the anchor of the support staff that's in my eyes the way I look at this role. And
Mhm.
I feel like if you're not willing to just like go through the gamut and but over time, this is an investment. Just like
Mhm.
anyone, we make personal investments in whether it be real estate, whether it be the stock market, crypto, whatever, that you're making over time, and that over time it starts to pay you back in that way. So to relating to that, like what does it look like, why do you feel like there's so many hang ups with agents and not being able to keep assistants for a long period of time?
I think that's multifaceted. One is fostering that environment, right? Like for example, I remember the first mistake I ever made, working with you. You called me in your office, and instead of getting angry with me, which I'm sure you were probably a little annoyed, but you didn't let it show. And instead of coming at me with that energy, you instead said, "What was the thought process behind this thing you did?" Instead of saying you made a mistake and you can't do that. So that is very important. Yeah. So this outside of fostering like a safe environment for that person, there's also obviously pay structure, right? Be competitive. Don't cheap out on your assistants because they are running your business while you're procuring new business.
Yep.
So show value to that. If you think you're going to get a good assistant at $15 an hour, you're not. Nobody can live off of that. They're going to have a second job, right? Like even when I started working with Dean, I think for the first 2 years, I had a second job. I had to supplement my income. And then we had a conversation about where I needed it to be because realistically, I didn't want to come in 2 days a week exhausted because I'm working a bartending gig, right? Like I really wanted to focus my time and energy on this role. And so we had a very open and honest conversation, and I ended up, getting what I needed in order to do that. Create a safe space, pay them accordingly, and also spend some time with them, right? So at least initially, like Dean and I don't need to meet now really to discuss business and stuff. But for the first 6 months to a year, we met every morning to kind of, even for 15, 20 minutes,
I
just to
forgot
go
about that.
over. Remember, we used to meet every
Yeah.
morning and then we had to
That's
cut
right.
it short because you're like, these are going too long.
That's right. I was
Um,
enjoying the conversation. Yeah.
yeah. Having that like morning powwow to kind of like check in. And this way I felt super prepared for the day and I didn't have to worry like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to talk to Dean till 12 because he's prospecting and then I don't have this answer and blah, blah, blah. So just make sure like you're laying that out nicely. Also, please create systems for your admins. Like, do not hire an admin and have nothing for this person to work out of. I understand as when you're a solo agent, all of these ideas you have are ways you want things to go live up here, but nobody can read your mind. So create systems or hire somebody to create systems so that person can, be up and running as soon as possible.
This is a side note, let's see what the answer is. Do
Mm.
you believe that when Dean hired you, fast tracking to where you are now, that the ability of what you have done, taken, all the paperwork, system, processes, assuming dealing with the agents, so on and so forth, do you think that propelled his business to allow him to be, the type of person he is today?
Exponentially, I do. I mean, he would not be the agent he is if he, with 20 pendings at almost all times, if he had to do all the paperwork, for them. There'd be no way. There'd be no way. And on top of it, not only is he able to procure more business because I'm here, but we're also able to service the current business in a way that is physically impossible. There are not enough hours in the day, even if you weren't, married with 3 kids like Dean, even if you are a single person, there's no possible way you're going to call all the agents that show your listings on a weekly basis to gather feedback so that your clients know that you're working for them. It's just impossible. So
Why do you think that there's such a big hesitation for realtors to take on that? So let's just say that we have an agent that's doing 40 deals per year and they are doing everything you just said, right? So it's not able to propel them to the next phase of the business. Why do you think that there's such a big hesitation to hire a rock star person like yourself?
well, thank you. I think it's a few things. I think it's that analysis paralysis, right? It's also like not knowing where to start. It's also a little bit of maybe not wanting to part with your income, right? You're just like, I don't want to pay somebody's salary. And I think there's also sometimes there's a bit of delusion in thinking that you can sustain this type of activity for a long time. Like, sure, you might have, like, we have a wonderful friend of an agent. I'm not going to say her name, but she is an amazing agent. I mean, she's the kindest person. Her clients love her to death. She is in that place. She needs an assistant, like hands down needs an assistant, and she just won't do it. And I've had many conversations with her about it, but it's because she doesn't know where to start. She doesn't, and then also like now you're, if you have an assistant, now you have to be a leader, right?
Mhm.
And not everybody is built to be that.
Yeah, actually, if I can take that, that's a great point. And
Mm.
I'm in my book reading time of the year right now. I'm just consuming as much great information as I possibly can. But speaking about being a leader, one thing I did recognize just the other day is that I feel like being a leader, you have to expose yourself to a certain extent. And I
Mm.
feel like it's very hard for people to do that, especially agents. And there might be some imposter syndrome, like, oh, who am I to train somebody? Maybe you're just genuinely like feeling that way, or maybe not. But I mean, and what I love about this conversation, Teddy and Rich, is that you realize like we are both running smaller teams. We're not talking
Mm.
like you're running a 50-person outfit right now that we hear on a lot of different podcasts. We are a Navy SEAL outfit that is very much a, really like, touchy and everything like that, that is, on a daily basis. And so I realized that being a leader, it does expose you. Like you have
Mm.
things in your day, like like this is, whatever's behind the curtain will come out at some point. Like there's
Mhm.
no way, Teddy, I feel like if being with, with this company for 7, 8 years, that you be here and not know who I really am, because time at this point should have told, oh, I would have walked after a year or 6 months or whatever it is, right? So, yeah, I think that's just a side note that I want everyone. I know it might be hard to think that way, but you're right. Being a leader it's not for everybody because it does expose who you really are, and you need to bring that out. Would you say? What would you say on that point, though? Going into that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think I told you from the beginning that you are a man with little to no ego, right? Like offending you is very difficult.
That's
Although
true.
I've tried many
That's
times.
why Rich and I are friends, by the way, because
Yes.
he busts my chops all the
All
time.
the time. You love it.
I
You
don't,
love
I
it,
don't even
and
know
it
what you're
makes for
talking
good.
about, to be honest with you.
You don't really have an ego, which makes it very easy to be very open and honest with you and vulnerable on my end as well. And I do remember, I think it was like the first day I was working with you, we went to the Greek place across the street from the office at the time, and we sat down, we had a meal. I told you my whole life story, you told me your whole life story, and there was just a connection. Like we are pretty much the same person. We've had different paths, but we have a very similar mindset. And I think that conversation really also allowed me to feel very comfortable around you. Like I've had a lot of jobs, I've had a lot of bosses. I've never ever felt so valued, safe, appreciated as I do in this company, which is why I would never leave. Like I think I even told you recently, I was headhunted by a really big
Well, now
agent,
you
and
said it. Now you really can't, because
I
now
really
you're
wouldn't.
out
I would
there.
never leave,
Documented today.
right?
Documented
I
today.
was actually very recently headhunted by a very big agent in New York, and they offered me a lot of money.
Mhm.
And there was like, I really went to the meeting to kind of just see, like, I was curious out of curiosity. First of all, I'm not going to New York. You'd have to pay me like $500,000 to commute into the city. It's not happening. That's number one. But number two, like, I really do love our team, and I love what we've built here. And you yourself have grown into a very good leader. You didn't start that way. Not that you were a bad leader. I don't want to
No,
say
I
that,
mean,
but I
so
feel
much.
like it
Yeah.
is a skill set to learn for
It is.
sure.
It is. It's
100%.
a painful skill set to learn, because
Hmm.
it's a whole different. It's not just you. It's like you having to be interacting with people on a very close-knit basis. Whereas as an agent, I can grow myself, but there's a distance between the clients and myself. I don't have
Hmm.
to get so close to them in that way. Whereas with you and like the agents, and it's a much different thing, right? But now I want to go and transition into this, now that we've had all these years of just success in this department, building up these systems and procedures. Talk a little bit about your TC Genius that you came out
Oh, thanks for the plug. So yeah, I have created a lot of systems, created and collected, I should say, a lot of systems over the years. And I have noticed that gap that you were talking about before, that 15 to 25 deal a year agent who really could use an assistant. but doesn't have the systems in place to hire an assistant, you know? So I just started kind of combining all of the systems that I have into one place. And now I offer it to agents to help them build their systems. And then I also offer admin training because look, you know, they say the thing you should do in life is the thing that you could talk about for like 8 hours unprompted, you know, and I can talk about real estate. I can talk about this role. I can talk about this team, this industry as a whole for hours, you know, unprompted. So that is what I want to focus on now is really helping other agents realize their actual potential because I feel like it's such a disservice that agents are doing to themselves by not hiring admins because they're really limiting their growth. So if I can help in any way, I will. And now I offer that. So
That is great. You know,
thanks.
guys, I just learned about this right now, so it's all good. I think that
Yeah.
I think it's great that you are thinking outside the box. You know, it sounds like you're looking for growth opportunities for yourself, but you know, in this industry, you know, every single day you're going to come up with something else, and if you just keep a tally of that, you know, you're trying to create an edge for the next real estate agent, and that's fantastic that you're able to come up with what do you call it? TC Edge? What was it called? TC Genius?
Mm-hmm.
TC Genius that you were able to be able to formulate. So, you know, I'm sure that's going to be a fantastic addition to the Dean Clark Group, as well as an addition to, you know, all the other realtors that you're going to help out do that. So, you know, give you props for thinking outside the box and not being
Thanks.
scared to bring that to light. So
Yes.
that's
Thanks.
one admirable thing that, you know, anybody, if anybody's out there looking for an admin or a TC or a closing coordinator or whatever it is in your exact business that you're lacking, you know, I think that finding somebody that does think outside the box and that is not scared to implement and, you know, fall in their face and, you know, ask questions and, you know, be, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the sunshine in the office or the array in the office, or I don't know, but something like that is going to be able to allow people to be wanting to walk into the office and perform at a high level. So good job.
Oh, thanks. I just want to just say one thing about that because I am scared. Like it's not that I'm not fearful of what comes next. I very much am. But I've learned that I need to lean into the fear. I need to the things that scare me or the things I need to do. And I tell people this all the time, but I never take my own advice. And some I just kind of got a swift kick in the ass last week mentally, watching a video, and it kind of got me in shape. And now I'm ready to just branch out and do my own thing with the support of Dean, of course.
What's the best way for someone that's listening that would like to take you up on that service to reach out to you?
You can call me, email me, hit me up on Phone Warriors, really any way you want to, and we can drop all the, I'm sure we can drop all the information
And
later,
your best email,
or just reach
yeah,
out to Dean and
sure. And
he'll
I'll make a
connect us.
connection. That's
Yeah, yeah.
100%. Okay, so as we're gonna wrap this up, and again, I think it's been such a great conversation leading up to this point because there's just not enough conversation around this, like having someone in the seat really talking about what it looks like. Okay. So if you had a time machine, you can
Mm,
go back in your own life,
mm,
knowing what you know now about this role, what you do, and just in general, this could be a personal answer, it could be a business answer, it could be
mm.
relating to what you're doing. What would you tell yourself in your early 20s again, knowing what you know now about life and business?
Um, the first thing that came to mind is that the timeline is malleable. I think I think a lot of people in life think like I'm supposed to do this thing and that's the only thing I should be doing, whether it's family pressure, you know, or societal pressure, whatever the case is. So you're trying to stay in this lane that doesn't fit for you. And I think you can, as long as you trust in yourself and your own intuition, life will take you anywhere that you let it. And just because, like, even I'm starting this new business with TC Genius, do I think that's the only business I will create? No, I think it's a stepping stone. I think it's something that can fund my other dreams later on down the line, and I can diversify myself. It's all malleable. Things can change. You can start over at any age. You can really do whatever it is you want to do. It's like the American dream, right? Is that you can do anything with hard work. So trust yourself, work hard, and really immerse yourself into the things you want to do. And if that changes, that's okay. It's all right.
And why do you do what you do?
I'm a fixer. I've always been that. I've always been a fixer. I've always been a helper, the person who wants to make other people's lives better if I can. I don't know. I've been like that since I'm a kid. I take great pride in being to help people. And also my toxic trait is that I feel pretty useless if I'm not productive, right? Like I need to be productive in order for my mental health to be good. So that is a huge driving force for me. And that's why my only speed is go. Like I'm just off to the races because I don't like that hesitation. But
And,
yeah.
and just listen to that answer, Rich, though. I hope you guys heard what Teddy just said, because this just reminds me of like why we all did a deep dive within our teams and organization here, right? About knowing our personalities, knowing how we are hardwired. And you just said it, is that like your self-awareness, how many times do I talk about this with the team, right? Like
Yeah.
having this high degree of self-awareness about who you are is so important. And clearly you emulate that. So kudos.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I hated that about myself for so long. Being the helper, being the fixer, I felt like it put me in precarious situations at times because I would kind of forego my own safety or well-being for that of others. But now I've accepted, hey, this is who you are, and there is a way to do this where you're also okay at the end. Like you don't have to give all of yourself to other people to make their lives better, but you can give a little bit and then be okay in the end anyway. So
it's
yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you, Teddy, for this. This has been fantastic. And Phone Warriors Nation, you want to just get more information, reach out to me, Dean at deanclarkgroup.com, or find me on Instagram, and we will put you in touch with Teddy if you would like to take your staff and your assistant roles to the next level.
Absolutely. Remember, Dean and I are here for you for any questions, concerns you might have in your business. And we look forward to potentially partnering with you. And thank you for today.